This is the Emmy Award-winning 11 News Close-Up with your host, Marvin Scott.
It has now been 72 years since the liberation of the Nazi death camps that now stand as memorials to those who were slaughtered there. And they serve as a painful reminder of man's inhumanity towards man. Tomorrow, most people around the world will pause to remember the 11 million victims, 6 million of them Jews, of the Nazi Holocaust. The Holocaust Remembrance Day reflects on one of the darkest chapters in the history of mankind, a chapter that the world should never be allowed to forget. In the words of the late Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, for the dead and the living, we must bear witness. I'm pleased to be joined now by Sally Frishberg. She survived the Holocaust by hiding out with her family in a farmhouse attic of a man who protected them, a Polish Catholic, and she was there for 2 years. Bill Tingling is an altruist who was inspired by meeting Holocaust survivors to create the nationwide Words of Bonds project, where he, along with Holocaust survivors, African Americans, and a roster of distinguished historians, visit schools and civic arenas doing one thing: teaching the importance of tolerance and empathy, with the hope that the Holocaust, slavery, and other acts of inhumanity are never again repeated. Welcome. Thank you. Let me begin with you, Sally. We have Holocaust Remembrance Day tomorrow, but many parts of the world have banned it. They won't recognize it. Do you fear that the world has forgotten? It's got to anger you.
It makes me think of the fact that these poor fools are doing this at their own risk. The problem is that they're involving the rest of us. If we forget what man does to man under bad circumstances, when all is well, you don't feel the hatred. But when things go bad, it comes to the fore and people act on it. And if you don't prepare in some way to deal with the subject, we and our children and their children pay for that failure. And we can't afford it because the weaponry is too threatening.
How do you counter it? Education?
It's the only way we have. If we don't learn, then there's no hope. We must learn. The
lyrics of that song in South Pacific, you've got to be taught to hate. Let me turn to Bill, because you could learn also to love, and that's basically what you're trying to do.
That is correct. With the greatest things one can do for the other is to serve that person. But there's something that's greater than that service that hovers over us, that is love. With Sally and I and many other educators, we believe that education is one of the greatest tools to influence and empower others to become an asset to society, to share that divine, innate nature of love that they have.
Precisely what is it you do through your project?
Well, in the past, a few years ago, matter of fact, we have taken it to another level now. We take Holocaust survivors to schools and African American seniors to schools to talk about the atrocities of the past and how we can correct such levels of atrocities through education. Anti-bullying, empathy, the acceptance of others, and to see a multitude of children when Sally and many other Holocaust survivors go up to speak, and they say, I am a Holocaust survivor, and they show the number or the swastika on their hand.
And their reaction?
Oh, the room becomes quiet. And they then share their story. You know, Professor Elie Wiesel says, if we fail to correct the past, eventually it will repeat itself. We are instrument of that change, not to make the past happen again through the level of education.
You know, Bill, you point out something about Elie Wiesel. He was so eloquent, and he was the voice for so many of the voiceless. I had the honor of having him on this broadcast in 2011, and it was a very chilling moment, because you know the book Night is the book he wrote many years after he was liberated from Buchenwald, but he wrote about it. And I'd like right now to share that with you and our viewers.
Yes.
Here's a segment.
Never shall I forget that night, the first night in camp, which has turned my life into one long night, 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the little faces of the children, whose bodies I saw turned into wreaths of smoke beneath a silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget that nocturnal silence which deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul, turned my dreams to dust. Never shall I forget those things, even if I am condemned to live as long as God Himself. Never.
Chilling. Elie Wiesel back in 2011. I saw the emotions on your face. Sally?
I shan't ever forget either. What happened is unforgettable. And we can't take license not to deal with it, because it is too dangerous. And the moment is now, before anything gets started. Those who wait too long miss the opportunity to make a difference. We can't afford that.
Yet, these days, there is a rise in anti-Semitism, neo-Nazism. I want to take a break. Let's talk about that when we come back. Stay with us as Pix 11 News Close-Up continues. Back with Bill Tingling and Sally Frishberg talking about Holocaust Remembrance Day, which comes at a time where there's such a rise throughout the world of anti-Semitism and neo-Nazism. How do you explain that, Bill?
That's a good question. And to revert back on the explanation of that, I will take it a level forward. With the profound directive of Professor Elie Wiesel, what we are doing to confront such hate is we're building the first of its kind in the United States, a tour of tolerance. It'll be like a New York City bus, retrofitted like an Epcot Center, going from school to school, seeing approximately 50,000 students per year. Could you imagine on a bus, retrofitted bus, with one may say with the highest form of technology, with a Holocaust survivor on board, an educator, talking about civil rights, each moments of change, anti-bullying.
Education.
Education, Marvin, education.
Do you fear, Sally, the Holocaust could happen again?
I know that we're not done with evil. We probably will not be done with evil. It'll always be there. But I know that we diminish its power greatly when we pay attention. If we don't pay attention to what's happening to us and act against it, if we have no army of our own, so to speak, of human beings who say, no, you can't do that, it's wrong, Western civilization didn't come to this point, so you can destroy it, then it'll happen again. Will it be the same sort of thing? Probably not. But will it kill people? Will it hurt? Will it diminish our worth as human beings? Absolutely.
Sadly, since the Holocaust, we have seen incidents of genocide. We see it even today in parts of the world. So let me ask you this, Bill. What has to be done to create the change to see to it that a Holocaust doesn't happen again?
Education. Education. The most portable instrument one can have and carry with them is education. The great writer says, one can lead 1,000 and two can put 10,000 to flight. Could you imagine tripling that? Could you imagine moving out with those language and numbers through education, the empowering of tolerance, the empowering of education, accepting people for who they are? It's a wonderful entity. But it takes us, as Sally said, us to be the instrument to carry on the level of teaching others how to accept each other.
And you carry that very powerful message. What's the message, Sally, you as a Holocaust survivor, what's the message you would deliver right to these folks out here on Holocaust Remembrance Day?
Care. Don't say it's none of my business, I keep my nose clean. This gives power to people who should have no power because they misuse it. Care about your environment. Care about other people. Try to understand. Ask for a translation of what's happening. Talk about it. Talk is wonderful. It brings people closer together, even when they fight, because we convey something that's very meaningful to us, and we can address it, we can deal with it. But if we are just above the fray and we go around with our noses in the air thinking we're superior, we're giving all the power there is to these terrible creatures who love to hate. Indifference is our great enemy. We can't afford it. No more.
On that powerful note, Sally Frishberg, thank you very much. And Bill Tingling, congratulations to you and the best of luck, continued success with your project, the Words of Bonds Project, education.
Thank you, Marvin.
And we'll all pause to reflect tomorrow on Holocaust Remembrance Day. Thanks for joining us.
Indeed.
That'll do it for our program this week. If you have any comments or wish to see this broadcast again, log on to our website at pix11.com/newscloseup. I'm Marvin Scott. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone.